Hi guys, and welcome to another segment of our true crime series with me, Stephen Gillen. Hope you guys are okay out there in these strange times. There's been a lot of press about me out there, there's many interviews, guys, right? And a lot of you have been asking questions and different stuff. We're still putting out a lot of big interviews with big names, fascinating people, fascinating journeys. This is where we really go into detail on different segments, certainly of my journey and my experiences of stuff that's not out there, guys, but really the raw content that gets to the point, and also what I learned, what I personally learned from these experiences. Today, we're going to talk about how I missed death, certain death, or very, very bad mutilation by a hit squad, by minutes, 30 minutes it was, guys, 30 minutes. The truth is, back in the day in East London, there were many moments like this, probably some moments that I didn't even know. Because in the life that I lived in organised crime and where we was and the kind of stuff that we was doing, there was fallout. So there was other gangs, or there was people who didn't like you, you didn't like them, or you was encroaching on their territory, or they just had an axe to grind. There was people like that too, yeah? These fallouts could be very, very serious. I was always someone who believed it was always better to get on with people. But in them years as well, I was a loose cannon, guys. I was a bit of a loose cannon. I had to mature a bit. So I wasn't taking no shit from no one, and we was like that. We had to be like that. But of course, there's a lot of other people out there who are also like that. So this would cause some very serious beef sometimes, which couldn't be sorted out through any reason, right? Couldn't be trusted to you couldn't go and meet with these guys. You knew they were setting you up. You knew you had to deal with this stuff in a different way, and I mean, I certainly, for me, that life is a very treacherous life. I mean, I know one guy I knew 25 years, he's certainly up to set me up to get killed. I mean, I found this out after. So, I had these experiences, I knew what this life was like. But look, in them days, I was part of a gang, and, a close-knit gang. Some of them people was people I grew up with, other people who would work with and we was earning money with. And then there was loosely connected people outside of that circle, different gangs and heads of gangs from all over London, even over in Europe and other people, the States and abroad, right, who we knew, right, and we was doing things with, right? So this is, this was the life that I led, and this was the circles I moved in. And there was times, I have to be honest, where many times, because of the nature of what we've done, we would certainly be going into places or walking into places, and we didn't know what was waiting for us. Sometimes we'd go in there heavy, where we'd have firearms, or we'd have weapons or stuff like that to defend ourselves, or even worse, maybe to do something to the other side because they was coming to us. There were many instances like this, or on a deal, or something like this. So there were many instances, sometimes 2-3 times a day, even more, where we would walk into places and anything was liable to happen. In them days, I laugh because I remember my friends who was around me, my nickname, they called me City Steve, because the truth was we was everywhere. We'd go from Brixton Hill to North London and, East London, wherever, maybe 2-3 times in a day, meeting people, doing stuff, maybe down to Birmingham, maybe, Manchester or other places, maybe up north. We was doing a lot of stuff with different gangs within the organised crime scene. But so there was a lot of times, guys, I have to say that I'm just painting the picture a little bit more, fleshing out of what that life was like and what I had to contend with, right? But You don't see that at the time. You're very aware, and your intuition is unbelievable. But you just do these actions. And looking back, it's crazy. But you're always looking for traps. I certainly was. You're always weighing people up. You have to be able to weigh people up in a moment. You never trust no one in that life. You're always looking for the setup. You're always looking for the other angle. I'll give you an example, and sometimes you can even be pulled into things that have nothing to do with you, that can be really, really deadly. I mean, many times one of the things we used to think about as well is when we was meeting other people, will we be walking into their observation? Obviously, they're target criminals, they're career criminals. We don't know what they're actually up to. They could be up to anything. You know, we don't know if the police are mounting an operation on them or not. I know so many people, certainly I've done it as well, have walked into other people's observation, and that was been very bad for us, and we've probably even had prison sentences down to that. But I'm going to take you back to an example where it wasn't really my beef, but I nearly lost my life down to this. A guy come to me in the old days. You know, he was from a well-known East London family. They were Scottish. So, you know, we got on, they knew us, we knew them and all that. And he come to me, you know, he wanted some drugs. You know, it doesn't matter what it was, but he wanted a certain amount of drugs, and there was a lot of it. Did I know someone, he said, right? So I said, well, yeah, I know some kind of people. I can hook you up with someone, as you do. Now, even at this time, usually I was very commercial, guys, because I was wise. But even at this time, because of who they were and the dynamic who it was, I didn't even charge this guy anything. I said, look, I know someone. You know, I'll put you in contact. What you do with this guy is up to you. What transpires later is they've gone to do this deal with these guys. Through my introduction, something's gone really wrong on the meet. You know, they met in some house and went really wrong, and they've lost all their money, right? You know, a large sum of money. So they've thought it's been a setup, and unbeknown to me, they thought I had some hand in it. Truth was, I didn't. I've only found out about this after. So I go to this club one night. It was called the Way In. You know, after a boxer's way in, and it was people in East London would know this club. It was a well-known club back in the day. We used to go to one of the clubs on the plot. A lot of guys used to get in there. You know, it was under the bridge there in Kingsland Road, just going up to Hoxton. I used to be in and out of there. You know, a lot of us did. This night I go in there. You know, we're having a little drink. I'm in there. I see a lot of people I know. You know, a lot of girls in there. It was always very, very busy back in the day. You know, and usually I would have stayed. This night, I forget what happened. I had to go somewhere. I had to do something. I didn't stay. So I talked to the guy I was there with, different stuff. Couple of guys I knew. I had one drink, I think two, and then I left. But it transpires I'd only been gone from that club 30 minutes. But these guys from earlier, you know, there was 4 of them, balaclavas, so I still don't know today exactly who was on that team, but they had pulled up just after I'd left, round the corner, you know, with firearms and all that, and of course they'd heard I was in there through other people, and they'd come there with the guns, and they went in there, they knew people, you know, they forced their way in there looking for me, and I was going to be shot that night. So there you go, you know, and I heard this after, and there was a lot of stuff that went on after, you know, about this, where communications were sent to these people, you know, and they was told, you know, be careful yourself, that needs to stop, let's talk about it, all this. It transpired after. This was sorted out when we started talking. And they said, well, look, you prove it, we want a body, we think this, that, we want our money, blah, blah, blah. He said, no problem. So we set up another deal to get these people in again and pull them on, so they had their body and they could go on to him and get their money back, right? And I can remember we called this meeting, and it was down in West London. It was on a neutral territory. It was on a busy road down there near Willesden Green, you know, and I can remember, you know, we had to be tricky how we set this up for obvious reasons. So we've done it on the main road, and I went down there. I had a couple of my guys who was just hanging around out of the way in shops, standing up round the corner, and they was armed just in case something bad happened. And then there was another 3 of us turned up in a separate car, and this is on a main busy road by some shops, right, guys? And there was some seating area there, so we used the shops as a point. We needed it to be in broad daylight, very, very busy, right? We didn't trust these guys, right? Anyway, so this guy who's meeting us, we're on the phones and they're saying, right, where's this guy, right? This is the guy who they'd met and where they'd lost their money, and he was part of the people I'd introduced them to. So we was in quite a sticky position, because there was a couple of them there. There's a lot of people sitting around, and I'm phoning this other guy, calling him on, where are you? And I'm thinking, is this guy going to come? This can turn very, very nasty. Anyway, it was the strangest things, guys, I have to admit. We waited for a long time. I thought he wasn't going to come. But when this guy come and he pulled up in his Merc, I thought, you've got to be shitting me, really, because when he come and he pulled up, he come out in a silk shirt with this bird. I thought, this is not what I expected, right? Because this is a very serious thing, and they want their money back, and they're ready to do serious damage to people, right? Must admit, guys, I was very happy to see him come, because I hadn't had a hand in any dodgy business here with this, but they wasn't going to believe that, right? Until they had the body. So when he come, it was a really easy thing. I said to them, right, there you go. There's the guy, here's your body, you sort it out with him. There's the proof, we had nothing to do with it. Case closed. What I always remember about that day, guys, was when we was milling around that little bit outside these shops. Now, there was a little places where you could sit there. It's just in front of a few shops, in a really busy junction, loads of cars around and people. As soon as we'd done that, there was 3 people, big lumps, who I've been looking at, obviously, but had been reading papers and doing stuff as if there was nothing to do with these guys, who then stood up, went with them and jumped in the car. So they've been sitting there all along, and this is how they've done this move. So there's just an example, just one example, guys, of how I just missed death and very serious harm just by minutes with something that wasn't even something that I had been involved in, but because of who I was, the introductions I'd made, and living that life within organised crime. What did I learn by that, guys? I learned many things. That was a lesson for me. Number one, don't be so quick to introduce anyone to anyone. You always cover yourself, in their life, and, always expect the unexpected. And of course, never trust anyone. Don't come from a position of trust. Come from a position of incentive where you've done your homework and where you are controlling the situation, and people have to behave, not on trust, but they have to behave. So they're leveraged and you're protected in a certain way. I certainly learned that. That was a big lesson for me. All these lessons, obviously, this is years ago. And that life, the truth be told, it's helped me immensely as I've transformed my life into what I do now in business and other things. These learnings, it's part of who I am, my history and my experience. I'm just privileged and happy now that I use all of this stuff, obviously for the good, building stuff and creating stuff. Guys, thanks for joining in for another segment of True Crime series with Stephen Gillen. I wish you a wonderful day. Bye. Make sure to subscribe, go into stephengillen.com and sign up for more wonderful content to expedite, help and support you on your own personal journey of success.